This knife is weird, and I kind of like it. This is the Kizer Coniferous V, and at first glance, it might look like a standard EDC folder, but dig deeper and you'll find quality materials, interesting design choices, and one of the strangest locking systems I've ever used. So let's break it down. So what are we working with here? The Coniferous V is a mid-sized folder that looks and feels like something between a tactical tool and a designer showpiece. It's got some aggressive angular designs, a hybrid handle material setup, and of course the thing everybody asks about, that lock. Before we get into the alien setup inside, let's talk specs. The Coniferous V has a 3.3 inch long blade with an overall length of about 7.7 inches open. When it's closed, it's coming just in at 4.4 inches, and it weighs overall 4.06 ounces or 115 grams, which is actually lighter than it looks thanks to the titanium and micarta construction. This one's rocking a 154 cm blade, and it's solid, proven steel that holds an edge really well and is pretty easy to maintain. It's not crazy exotic, but it gets the job done. I personally will never complain about 154 cm on a blade at this price point. For comparison, I have some of my favorite daily carry knives here. First up, we have the Kizer Drop Bear, which is a little bit shorter, a little bit more neutral shape, and a crossbar lock. Then we have the Kershaw Bel Air, which is very similar in length, but a lot thinner, lighter, a little bit more minimalist. The Coniferous feels a little bit more robust in hand, more premium due to the titanium and the stylish clip, but also a little bit more niche. Overall, it's a really nice size for a standard EDC knife, and it fits in really well with this really great company. It's not going to dethrone one of these for tons of pocket time, but it holds its own to a degree. Now, this handle is one of the most interesting parts of the knife. We've got two different scale materials on each side profile. We have this really nice textured micarta on the show side, which is then flanked by this really nice slab of titanium on the back. It gives it a really unique feel. Grippy texture up front, cool metal in the back. I've always thought that titanium and micarta have gone together perfectly, and it's very evident here. It just seems old school and yet classy at the same time. In my opinion, these scales absolutely make the knife. It's not the most hand-melting ergonomic shape, but it's comfortable enough for EDC tasks, and the materials are undeniably premium. With this flipper tab, your hand locks into this grip, and with a small swell at the bottom, you're locked in pretty firmly. Now let's talk about the weirdest part of this knife, the V-lock. It's very similar to a liner lock with just an extra step. At first glance, it looks just like a standard liner lock, and it acts and disengages in much of the same way. However, when we take this apart and look at the pivot, this contains a really small secret. Before we put this knife under, remember this small raised point right here. Now that it's disassembled, we can take a closer look at the mechanism and how this thing works. If you remember that glass breaker from earlier, this sharp point right here, we can see that it uses an internal geometry of a 60-degree V-shaped angle to keep the blade in locked tight. So this small point rests in this liner right here, and it keeps the blade locked pretty firm. It's not the most crazy or fidgety lock out there by any stretch of the imagination, but it's interesting to see something a little different. I wouldn't call it super fidget friendly like the Drop Bear's clutch lock, but it's unique and it works. Overall, this knife's action is basically just a standard flipper with a liner lock. The lock doesn't really enhance or take away from the action. It just instead gives it a slight increase in strength and stability. Now, one of my favorite things about this knife is actually the pocket clip. The deep carry pocket clip is one of Kizer's best. It's clean, low profile, no branding, very deep carry, and it tucks this knife perfectly in your pocket. No hot spots, and though the screws aren't countersunk, with how this clip is made, you shouldn't have any issues with it snagging on your pocket. Very well done. I absolutely love this pocket clip. Now, while we're still at the back end of the knife, let's take a quick look at that small raised bit from earlier that we looked at with the lock. Makes an appearance again, this time kind of marketed as a glass breaker. Honestly, it's really small and non-intrusive, but it's there if you ever need it. It's kind of a cool touch if that's your thing, but I just personally find it a little bit gimmicky. It's not super sharp, so no worries about damaging your pocket, but I just find it a little annoying, and it takes away some of the design of this otherwise really clean knife. Fortunately, if this glass breaker and this lockup really isn't your jam, there have been some dedicated individuals out there who have ground this down with a Dremel, and I think it looks so much nicer without this glass breaker. I'll include some pictures in the video of some people out there that have done some modding work because it's been really fantastic, and I'm really thankful they let me include some of the pictures in this video. I think I might actually have to try that mod myself because I think this knife looks so clean and sharp without this point here. I just really think it takes away just a little bit. So after carrying and using the Coniferous V for a few weeks, here's some of my findings. Some pros. Really premium materials. We have titanium, micarta, and 154 cm steel. I love titanium, and I think it's so awesome on this knife. I don't have a lot of titanium because it's a more premium offering, which comes with a more premium price. So having a titanium on a budget-friendly knife from Kizer, I think it's super cool. I think the lock is pretty unique and kind of interesting. I'm always on the hunt for new and wild things, so seeing a new lock with a new type of mechanism is kind of interesting. I also really like this great deep carry pocket clip. This pocket clip is amazing. I think it looks super good and it acts very well. Finally, I just think it has a really interesting design that kind of stands out. I think it's a really classy and sharp looking knife. Now for some cons. It's not the most super fidgety knife out there. Nothing really to write home about. I'm not really going to stay and just flip this open and close. I'm just not a really big flipper guy. I much prefer a crossbar lock. Another thing I really don't like is that glass breaker I kind of mentioned earlier. I don't think this knife needs this weird kind of fancy lock, and the glass breaker just seems like a gimmick. And I feel it just takes away from the overall classy look of a titanium knife. It's just kind of an afterthought. Finally, this knife might just be a little bit too out there for some. I mean, it's kind of a weird mixed bag. I mean, it's kind of classy with titanium micarta, and you have this really kind of weird lock with not the best action. So just kind of a mixed bag out there. The Kizer Coniferous V isn't trying to be just a safe traditional folder. It's bold, creative, and yeah, it's a little weird, but that's what also makes it fun. If you want a knife that's different and still functional, this one's probably worth checking out. Thanks for watching. I got tons of more reviews coming soon, so don't forget to like and subscribe below. I'll catch you in the next one.